why can't we just exchange value? Like it gets into a sort of a weird. Thanks, Johnny. I mean, what do you guys think? Like,
that's why I'm here too. I get what you're saying, and I agree. So let's just start with the premise that money came from the need for a sovereign to create a mechanism for taxation. So money was created so that the subjects could be taxed by the sovereign. I think people are going to use that term or that concept even as we say we evolve towards a Bitcoin standard, and the use and the way we do medium of exchange stuff changes in terms of what we think money is. The word may just get co-opted by a change in culture, and that when you think of a modern age where there's just, okay, you do this, you do that, I do 100 other things, and there's an infinite number of services and the Internet of Things and the stuff you want to get or the things you want to do. I can see that, call it money. Money is going to be kind of that neutral platform language that we use to communicate what that means. Like we're going to use a language to describe that. It's going to be attached to sort of a numerical value, something decimal that we understand mathematically. So it may just be that the way we use money, the way we use the word money changes, and money is no longer that sovereign taxation of subject use. It's more just we are sharing, but we do that with a liquid grease, if you will.
I like that. What do you think, Robin?
There's also the aspect of money as a ranking system of like kind of keeping tips on like who's doing extremely good in society. And I went really deep with I think Luke Broyles on that, because previously to him I had a conversation with Noah Kaufman, and he kind of described a potential future after Bitcoin where we have a moneyless society. And I was kind of fascinated by that idea, even though I have a hard time really grasping that we really get there. And I brought it up to Luke, and he was kind of the thinking that we will always have some sort of keeping tabs of like keeping like, oh, like I have so many dollars, like I have so many Bitcoin, and especially in Bitcoin, like it's such a huge thing, you know, like get to 0.1 Bitcoin, get to 1 Bitcoin, like this unit bias is so huge in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And so like this is a whole nother aspect of money. You can also define money as like just a ranking system in society where who stands where, and it also ties a little bit in resource capture, like keeping tabs, like how many resources did you already capture. So yeah, it's we went really deep. I like how Johnny said it. Like it's like unusually deep today.
Yeah, businesses want to keep score, or like, I mean, if one business wants to get a controlling interest or buy out another one, or a founder wants to retire and is like, I will sell what I built. Well, what is that worth? Well, I've built up this number of, we're going to call it Bitcoin. That's what it's worth. So
yeah. Well,
Luke
I mean,
Broyles, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go. No, finish.
Well,
please.
so I was just going to say real quick, Luke Broyles, I think, is like the most bullish guy about Bitcoin I've ever heard. When he tweets and what he says, it's like the most extreme bullish thing on Bitcoin, which I don't disagree with, but he is definitely bullish.
There's another one. I think there's Ratoshi. I think he's definitely more bullish than him. He has I just had him on the podcast, and we did an in-person podcast in Austria, because he is also Austrian.
Oh, nice.
And we did it in a small little nice studio here in Austria.
That's cool.
And here's the price model that Bitcoin will just keep doubling every year, as also the I love it. It keep doubling as the hash rate also keeps doubling every year. And I think he had a price target of one Satoshi hits $1 trillion by 2078. So
we're gonna have to make Bitcoin even more divisible.
Yeah.
Nano sats.
Nano Toshis.
Yeah, Nanotoshi. Well, I'm super interested to hear that Noah Kaufman interview now. Like that really tickled my like curiosity bone. I'm just like, oh, I want to hear this. Hopefully you can share a little bit more about it in a second. But yeah, that's kind of what I get to is like, if it is a scorecard, like if we take as true, and this is just a pure hypothetical, like sort of, deep dive into the weeds here, but if we take as true that money was invented and created to tax subjects, right, to extract value from subjects, and then be used by the sovereign to get things from their subjects when the sovereign needs them, right? Like, and that's not a foregone conclusion. That's just a theory I have. So if you go, well, people developed trade so they could pay that tax, right? And they developed trade for profit to pay the tax. You go, well, it costs me X amount of time, X amount of resources to build X amount of wolf skin shoes or ox carts or whatever it is. So in order for me to pay my tax, I have to sell these ox carts to other people, including the sovereign, for more than it cost me so I can pay the sovereign's tax and then have enough that I can buy from other people they're being extracted from, so I can go get stuff I need when I need it. So you get that division of labor thing, and people going like, well, instead of me just making all my shit, I can rely on this person, and I can use this thing that the sovereign issues that I got to pay my tax in anyway. And this is kind of a convenient arrangement. But if that sovereign influence goes away, then what becomes of trade? Like, why would you go through the trouble of building like a big business or do all this kind of stuff? Because like this whole entire apparatus that we live in right now, especially in the West, is built on a fiat system, fiat rails, that is predicated on debt. So you go, well, they built the iPhone because of debt, and they built computers because of debt, and they built, intercontinental highway systems because of debt, and they built heavy and air flight that anybody can travel around the world because of debt. So what happens when the debt portion goes away? Like, how many of these things are still incentivized to keep being made? So what scorecard are you keeping at that point if people go like, well, that's all kind of a waste. That's a waste of my time, energy, and resources, because I don't have to pay my tax anymore because the taxing mechanism is gone because the sovereign doesn't control the thing that we're exchanging. So why am I going to go through all this trouble to pay you a tax when I can just like sit here and grow a vegetable farm, or I can raise some llamas, or I can go, get my big titty wife and go off in the woods somewhere and make babies, and, and we can like milk cows and, farm goats, and I don't have to worry about any of this shit. Like, I can just check out of this system. I don't have to participate in warfare. I don't have to participate in corporate takeovers and all this hostile shit that comes out of a competitive fiat environment. You go, well, what becomes of trade? Like, do we still incentivize iPhones? Do we still incentivize cellular networks? Do we still incentivize, like, all those things are built on top of a fiat idea? And if the fiat idea goes away, does all that stuff go away too? Because suddenly it becomes way less profitable to do those things because you're not getting cheap money out of thin air. You don't have a consumer-based economy. You have a savings-based economy. And if you have a savings-based economy, then people are far less likely to squander money on trinkets and ding-dongs, and far more likely to conserve resources. So you go, well, what happens to all the businesses? They kind of don't matter anymore, right? Or would they? I don't know. I mean,
I can still see at a core fundamental human level, people wanting to create, learn, thrive, explore, build stuff, tinker, dabble in science, dabble in art, dabble in expression. And that is worth something, and it's worth sharing. So like the next, not to call it late game or late stage, but the next level of the great realignment would be the cultural realignment, aside from, say, we fix the money. And then the cultural realignment that occurs over time is that time preference, that quality of life, your incentives, and what you do with your time. And that could still be very productive, as people, I think, are innately wanting to do. And those things are going to have value. It may not be that, well, I just want more of that just to have more of that, but it's just that we enjoy doing this stuff. So that would be like the new economy.
Potentially. What do you think, Robin? I don't know.
It's very hard, honestly, because it's like there's a lot of them.
Sorry.
The definitions of all those like words. You're like, okay, like what is money? What is the monetary network? Like how do we rank things in the future? I usually default to like, I don't know.
These are deep questions.
We might end up like killing ourselves, or like we might end up. And this is actually something going back to Ratoshi, because I think it's really interesting what he have kind of built. He built that whole story since like years now, where he imagines like that rats take over, and it's obviously a sci-fi story, but it's interesting because he imagined from first principles like, oh, how would civilization built on rats, they are in the future, how would they communicate to each other? Like what would they build? And he kind of came up with that theory that in a trustless society where you don't have the option to like get taxes from someone, like if someone comes to you and like you're like, oh, give me your money, you're like, oh, I have Bitcoin, I don't have to give it to you. Right. He has the thing where everything you do, you have to collateralize beforehand. So if you let's say we made that example of the podcast, you come in this podcast studio, I rented the podcast studio for like 2 hours, and not only do I have to pay for the studio, but I have to put up a little bit of collateral, like almost like a deposit, to go in there. And if I don't damage it, I get it back. If I damage it, like the collateral is gone. And it was kind of interesting for me to think about, like if everything works on Bitcoin and there's no central authority, there's no third party that can take anyone's anything away, we might end up of like, if you want to do anything, you have to put up some collateral in case you do something shitty, and so there's something to take away from you, because if we don't have the keys of your Bitcoin, we cannot take it away from you. And this was also an interesting thing, and I'm not at all associated with him, but just because I literally have it on my desk, like this is his book.
Yeah, he wrote a book. Yeah.
Nice.
It comes out, like it's not even out yet.
Oh,
I don't
wow.
know if I should show it, but it's out in like next Wednesday, I think, so it should not be that bad. And it is really interesting because this whole book is very much about Bitcoin, but he doesn't mention Bitcoin once, and it's a sci-fi that's intentionally designed for people, for young men and women to be enjoyed.
Nice.
And I'm really curious, like, because he could have actually have written a Bitcoin book that is enjoyed by the mainstream without noticing that it's about Bitcoin. Like he has a lot of references to Bitcoin. He talks about the time chain. He thinks that the time chain is ruling everything in the future. He talks about like there's like spaceships, and one is like called the Hal Finney spaceship, and the one is the Nakamoto spaceship, and like things like that. So like if you read it as a Bitcoiner, you really like get all the references, and you're like, oh, like Bitcoin in every second sentence, but it's never really mentioned. I mean, there's a whole nother tangent, but I think this is a really good way of thinking about the future, not imagining our own human bias and like, okay, what if rats take over? How would they, in a very advanced civilization, organize themselves if they have the best possible money? And I kind of like that, like deposit world. Not really. Like it's like it reminds me of if you go to holidays, you have to rent a car. You always have to put a deposit because there's zero trust. You don't trust them, they don't trust you, and that's why there's a deposit in the way. But if the whole world is like that, because we cannot trust people, because like their money cannot be taken away from a third party. Like if someone breaks in, like as someone does here in Austria, something, they're like a police force, and like you have some sort of trust in them, and like you can seize assets. But with Bitcoin, it's harder to do. So I don't know. That's just recent thoughts in my head. But in general, like how will society will be organized in 1,000 years? Like I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's like super fascinating, man. Like I can't wait to read that book, dude.
Yeah, me
too. Well, my kind of core idea is like if you want to maintain fiat things, you have to use fiat money, right? Like And everything we do is fiat things. Like this podcast is because of fiat things. This computer that we're on, or I'm on, or we're all on, is a fiat thing. And the network that we're on is a fiat thing. And the way that we can broadcast this and talk to people and why we talk to people is a fiat thing. And like it's all motivated by fiat ideas, objectives, currencies, everything, right? So if people go, I like the way the world is for the most part, except for this one thing where somebody takes stuff from me. You go, well, the reason why people take stuff from you is the reason why you have all these things that you like. It's not, you don't get all this without the other thing. And what I can point to very clearly is like 250,000 years of human history where we didn't have these things. There were no rulers. And most of those societies that developed at that time were very, 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 very strongly against some guy rising up and saying, hey, I'm the leader now. Like they would just bash that guy down. The second the guy gets up and goes, I'm telling everybody what they're doing, the rest of the tribe would go, absolutely not. That's not going to happen. We're all equal here, GFY. And they would literally beat the guy out of the tribe if they had to. So they very much trounced on any idea of hierarchy, leadership, and things like that. That just all went away. It wasn't until agriculture, and it wasn't until there were resources to capture and hoard and steal that hierarchy starts showing up, right? And it's not until there's agriculture that people are hoarding things, and there's not until agriculture that people start coming up with these ideas of like comparing themselves to the Joneses and getting like, you know, classes of people and all that. That all came from resource capture. It didn't come from like an innate human trait. The innate human trait is we're all equal, right? Like that's the core. And I can point to 250,000 years of humans doing that versus 12,000 years of humans not doing that. And you go, well, which one are you going to give more weight to? Probably the 250,000 years more than the 12,000, right? So if that's true, and if you take away the sovereign capture thing, but like I said in the book, if you play that society out, most of the stuff that we take for granted and really, really like about the modern world goes away. Like just by definition, it has to go away because this is all created based on the idea that I get to hold stuff. You don't, I can exclude you from stuff. Like there's no egalitarianism. There's no equality in this system. It's who gets the most quickest wins, right? So if you take away that incentive, then you go, what happens to the world? So if you look at it from a bifurcated standpoint, you go, well, hey, I like some of the things that are in the world. I don't want to go back to like scraping honey badgers out of the ground and bash them with a stick so I can eat them. And I don't want to go collect honey from a beehive where I get stung 46,000 times. And I don't want to have to go collect my fruit every fucking time I want to eat something. Like I kind of like that I can go to the store down on the corner and just buy this shit and not face death or fall off a tree or this or that or the other thing. I kind of like that I can just go get like a sweet frappuccino whatever thing from the corner. But those are all fiat things, right? So you go, well, is it beneficial then to say, well, hey, there is a reason and a purpose for the sovereign, so we can do these neat things and still support life on Earth? Because right now, if 8.2 billion people start trying to hunter gather their way through the world, we're going to run out of resources in a week. Like it all just gets gobbled up, and then we all starve to death. So that doesn't sound like a good outcome. So what kind of world do we want to build? Because we can look at the world and go, hey, fiat and debt gave us a vision of the world that we never had before. Like nobody 250,000 years ago could have pictured a city or a fucking spaceship or traveling to Mars or talking like this over a fucking box that you plug into a wall that just by magic you get to talk to people and see their face, right? Like this is all sci-fi shit, right? But it's all built on fiat. So you go, hey, some of that fiat shit's pretty cool, right? Like our lives are pretty easy by comparison. Like if one of us went down and joined the Hazda tribe, we would starve for 6 months if it weren't for the graciousness of them feeding us because we couldn't keep up with them. Like we literally just can't run as fast as they can. We can't run as long as they can. We can't climb trees like they can. And the first time we go and try and get honey out of hive, those guys are getting stung by bees and they just don't care. We'd be like, oh my God. And we'd be covered with welts and we would literally die if we tried to live like them tomorrow. But they've adapted because that's the life they persisted with, right? So you go, well, we are now in a place where we've been so softened and fattened up by the fiat world that but there's also a lot more of us. Like there's 8 billion people now. Like the world supports 8 billion people because of fiat, not because of sound money, right? So does it make sense to go, well, we should preserve some parts of the system because they actually kind of work and they're helping human thriving. It's just the way they're doing it kind of sucks. So if you have this parallel thing that survives with the fiat thing, so you get the best of both worlds, isn't that a better way forward than smash the state and just have the Bitcoin only thing and everyone goes back to being the road warrior with their fucking seed phrase tattooed on their forehead, right? Like, isn't that, I don't know. That's what it sounds like to me, but maybe I'm just way off and, maybe I'm just corrupted by feds that just want to promote.
Fed.
Yeah, I just want to promote the fiat system. But I mean, do you guys see what I'm coming with or coming at? Or
Well, and it may be that, what we're used to experiencing in our world of what we enjoy benefiting from, the technology and the things that have all been fiat. We
Sorry,
inherently still want those things.
Corn buckets thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just thought that was funny.
We still want those things. Like you go to the indigenous tribe and you have some extra cotton t-shirts and they're like, we want those too. Can we have those? I mean, they want those because they're better
pretty sweet,
or
dude. Yeah, they're pretty sweet. Yeah.
So people naturally want, the what's better. If the incentives are really realigned, and maybe eventually, it's not that it's fiat, it's just that that's what humans want. But the incentives are fixed. Now, they came from a fiat place, but we have realigned all of it. And the goal would be, can we have the energy, the abundance, the things we want with the right incentives? Can we have all of that and make that sustainable? Say, like you refer maybe to, like, is this sustainable on planet Earth as a growing population of animals sharing this Earth? Can we have the abundance we need and do all this sustainably? I would think so and hope so, but that's going to come as that sustainability would have to be one of the incentives in the world, because when it's not working, we would all be feeling that as well, you would think. So,
I think that's a fiat system, right? Like that sustainability doesn't exist, and that's why the fiat system is so corrupt. So doesn't Bitcoin fix that? I don't know. Sorry, you were going to say something before, Robin.
I have so many thoughts on this, and it's especially because there are people on both spectrums. There's people saying like, oh, like in 2 years the fiat system is completely like gone, and I'm like, sounds unlikely, and also I don't want that. Because what does that mean for society if the whole fiat system, meaning all G3 nations and all of the other ones, of course, also like just completely, the whole financial system completely disappears, not even collapses, but disappears. I don't think this is a situation where we really want or should hope for. Then the other thing is like, maybe it's a very long, like hundreds and thousands of years of slow getting out of that fiat system. Seems more likely. I personally think all my life, if I die in like, let's say 80 years or like 70 years or like whatever the time frame is, I think in all my life I will see some sort of government tokens. So it will, in that sense, fiat will always be around. In so like, oh, like you need that government token to pay your taxes, and if you want to have welfare or you're out of job, like you get those government tokens and not like the real thing with Bitcoin. And it's an interesting thought of isn't having the option of Bitcoin already enough? Of like, if you can pay everywhere with Bitcoin, if you can get paid in Bitcoin, if you can store your value in Bitcoin, isn't that already the dream? If that option is valid, is recognized, and is for everyone available, that already sounds amazing. Then the question is like, will we come to the point where there's only Bitcoin and no other currencies, no private currencies, no fiat currencies, nothing? I have a hard time seeing that currently, and I talk with Bitcoiners every single day and with the most most bullish Bitcoiners every single day, and there are a lot of them that believe that, but there are also a lot of them that don't believe that. And I'm just like, there's a huge network effect to all of it. And it's hard to break. I mean, Facebook is still around and a lot of people use it, and I'm like, why are people still on Facebook?
I made the mistake of hopping
sense
on there once. Yeah.
and if you look at the daily active users and the monthly active users, assuming Meta is not cheating, a lot of people are on there, and it's still like one of the biggest platforms. And I'm like, how? Like, I get Instagram, I get Twitter, I get even TikTok and all of other platforms, because like, yeah, if I look through the train, like people are on TikTok, people are on Instagram, people are on Twitter, but like Facebook, nobody's on there. Like I don't know
it's
those
persistent
people.
and big, yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Thanks, Johnny. I appreciate that, man.
And those network effects are just like super hard to beat.
Yeah.
Thinking of the fiat mindset that we're used to, the world we grew up in. So I've got a question. Just thinking out loud here, Daniel. So you think way back, even long before there was money and a family or a tribe. I mean, there's that innate biological interest for your children, your offspring, that, while they're still growing up, and humans' development takes years. It's not like, a deer gives birth to a baby deer, as we've seen this summer, and they're up and running and they're kind of independent within months, say. Whereas humans take years, and having raised teenagers, it it takes forever. Yeah. But there's still, it's a very social construct. But there's an innate human interest in looking after your children and then their children, and you have your tribe. Is it fiat, say, to want to accumulate not just enough abundance for you or for this season or for your local family, but that you want to accumulate and store and save? And as far as the resource capture game goes, accumulate more than you really need, just in case. But it's not selfish. It's thinking of your kids, your bloodline, or even your community. That's not so fiat, is it? But it is a resource capture.
Well, I mean, I would say that is precisely what fiat drives you towards, right? Like, there were no, like, if you go ask the Hazda right now, do you guys save up for the future, and do you save more than the tribe needs so you can protect your kids' future? And it would be such a foreign concept to them. They'd just be like, what does that even mean? Like, I don't understand. If my kids are suffering, that means we're all suffering, right? So the idea of like, well, I'm going to hoard to protect mine is absolutely the cornerstone of the fiat game, right?
I see.
So, like I said, if the three of us, when we brought 3 big corn bucket ladies with us and decided we're going to start a new society out in the Canadian wilderness with no other input, I don't think the first thing we would do is come up with a monetary system, right? Like, it just wouldn't happen. Our first instinct would be to like collectively build and collectively share and collectively distribute resources and things like that. Now, the hippies try and do this kind of shit all the time with their little communes, and we're all going to work together and blah, 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 blah. The problem with those experiments is they are contained and captured within a fiat system, right? Like, they're not building from scratch. They're building somewhere where they go, well, I guess I could just run down a Home Depot real fast and get whatever XYZ thing. So if you were excluded from the fiat system entirely, like, there are still tribes of people that exist to this day, and they are completely cut off from the fiat system in every way, shape, and form. Unless some guy comes strolling through town with a t-shirt, they just don't know or care about any of this shit. And they certainly don't spend a lot of time thinking about how they're going to hoard resources for the next blah, 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 blah. That is a fiat mindset. That is from someone might come and take this from me. Something bad could happen. I'm going to lose my crop. But that by definition, it says that you've been disconnected from the natural world, because like Eskimos, the Inuit, let's say, they exist in the harshest environment on planet Earth, or one of the harshest environments on planet Earth, and they do just fine without any, they existed up there for tens of thousands of years without ever having a single access to a Home Depot or a cell phone, and they do just fine. And they very much care about their children. and they very much teach their children, like their wealth comes from like, I'm going to pass all this great, amazing ancestral knowledge to my children so they too can thrive just like I am, right? It's not about like, I'm going to hoard all this shit and keep others from having it so I make sure that my kids go. Like they all collectively share the knowledge, share the wisdom, share the techniques, share the tactics. And those guys live right on the survival threshold. Like they fuck up and they die.
Thank you for watching this video. This is just a short clip from our full episode. So if you'd like to enjoy more entertaining wisdom found in our podcasts in their full context, just click a link in the corner. We are always sharing our big ideas on Bitcoin Liberty Live.